Hey everybody, this is 22 Tiger Dude here, and I'm here to review The Haunting. So before I review The Haunting, my guest star, wwefan0599, is going to be reviewing The Haunting. So, WWE fan, take it away.
Hey, what's up you guys? WWE fan 0599 here again. And today we're going to review the 1999 remake of The Haunting. So, The Haunting stars Liam Neeson, Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, and Lili Taylor. And what this film is about, Liam Neeson. He wants to do this experiment on insomniacs. He wants to invite some people. So what he does is he invites Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, and Lili Taylor to come and do this experiment. But what they don't realize is that Liam Neeson is actually doing an experiment on them to scare them in this haunted house. And when things start to get a little bit too strange, they need to get out of there. So, what did I think of The Haunting? This movie is garbage! This movie is horrible! This is the worst horror movie I've ever seen in my life! This is horrible! Let's get into my positives. I have no positives whatsoever with this movie. There are none at all. None. So, let's just get straight into the negatives with this movie, because there is a lot of negatives with this movie. First being the acting. The acting with this movie is atrocious. It's horrible. First, we gotta talk about, of course, my favorite actor of all time, Liam Neeson. Now, what were you doing in this movie? What were you doing in this movie? What were you doing? Now, I will admit, Liam Neeson is the least horrible one out of all of them. I don't want to say he's trying, but it just seems like he's phoning it in. He was in Star Wars before this, because Star Wars and The Haunting came out the same year, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So I feel like he was just like, you know what, I'm going to make a lot of money off of Star Wars. Do I really need to give, some sort of great performance in this movie? That's what I just felt like with Liam Neeson in this movie. So, yeah. But Zeta-Jones, she's horrible in this movie. She really is. She's terrible in this movie. She really is. She is horrible in this movie. I mean, her character is supposed to be they don't really reveal that she's a lesbian, but there's hints of it in this movie that she is a lesbian, and she keeps on just throwing it out there's this one scene in the movie where she's talking to Lili Taylor and she's like, have you had any boyfriends or girlfriends lately? Something like that. It was just horrible. It really was. She's just throwing it out there, and it's terrible. Lili Taylor in this movie is horrible. Oh my goodness, her acting feels so wooden in this movie, and she's just horrible. Oh, really overacting and horrible in this movie. And of course, the worst performance in this movie is, I like this guy a lot. I really do. I like Owen Wilson. I really do. But, oh my goodness, this is one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen in film. He is horrible in this movie. He's atrocious. All he does is just point out, the obvious, oh, look, that thing moved. Oh, that's creepy. That's really creepy. Okay, there's this one scene where Liam Neeson has to get Lili Taylor from, these falling steps. They're, breaking stuff. He's like, be careful, man. The steps are breaking. No duh, Sherlock. He is horrible in this movie. Everyone is so bad in this movie. All the acting is horrible. The scares, they do not work. The scares are horrible. What scares? There are no scares. All it is a bunch of just CGI. They expect us to think that CGI is going to scare us. No, it does not. It does not at all. We'll get into the CGI a little bit later, but the scares just do not work in this movie. The writing is atrocious with this movie. One of the worst written films I have ever seen. The writing is horrible with this movie. It's awful. The directing in this movie is terrible. The directing is awful. This is directed by the same guy who made the first Speed. Speed is one of the best action movies ever made. And he goes on to direct Speed 2, which that movie's horrible as well. But then he makes this movie, which is infinite times worse than Speed 2. The directing's horrible with this. I don't think he directed a movie after this. I think this was his last movie. If I'm mistaken, let me know in the comments if this was his last movie. Because, oh boy, the directing is horrible. And of course, the one you've been waiting for me to get to, the visuals. The visuals are horrendous. The visuals seem like something that came out of like, I don't know, like maybe a 70s, maybe a straight to DVD movie. Something you would find on the Sci-Fi Channel. That's how bad the visuals are in this movie. Like, now in the movie there's like these children spirits, like, you know, that the ghost has taken, like they take them hostage or whatever, and they can move through objects. They can go through objects. Okay, there's this scene in the bedroom where, oh my goodness, the visual effects look so... It looks the worst in that scene because they make these children things look creepier than the actual monster. How do you do that? Because the visuals are horrible. The visuals are so horrible with this movie. Some of the worst visual effects I think I've ever seen in a film. Okay, I gotta talk about two things about this movie. One, they're both going to be spoilers. Okay, so spoiler alert for both of these. Okay, this first scene. Alright, so spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie, just, yeah, spoiler alert. Okay, so there's this scene where Owen Wilson's getting dragged through on a carpet, right? He gets thrown into the fireplace, and, you know, Lili Taylor's like, you gotta get out of there, gotta get out of there. And then, like a lion head comes crashing through and rips his head off. Okay, first off, this is a PG-13 movie, right? Okay, so why did someone get their head... Okay, that made no sense, because it's a PG-13 movie and someone got their head ripped off. You know, like, does that make any sense? Okay, that's one thing. And then Catherine Zeta-Jones gives, like, the most unintentional, hilarious reaction I think I've ever seen in a film. Like, her scream was so funny that I was dying laughing. I'm not kidding you. I was dying laughing at her scream because it was just so unintentionally funny. Oh my gosh. And then the second spoiler is that the ending. The ending is one of the dumbest / worst endings I have ever seen to a film. Okay, so what Lili Taylor's doing, she's going to finally confront the ghost. Basically, just confront it. And, you know, this big, huge, terrible-looking CGI thing comes in. It's just like... And then Lili Taylor's like, you took the children away from them. I'm going to take them back because it's about family and the power of... Oh, my goodness. It was so bad. It was so bad. Oh, my goodness. And then like all these things come in, these horrible CGI looking things come in, they take the thing, basically taking it to down there, and then Lili Taylor sets the children free, yada yada yada, she dies as well, Liam Neeson didn't find what he wanted, yada yada yada, and finally movie ends finally. This movie's almost 2 hours. It's boring as well. The Haunting. Ladies and gentlemen, The Haunting is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life. It is the worst remake I have ever seen. It is the worst horror film I have ever seen in my life. This movie is horrible. This is atrocious, guys. The Haunting, no doubtably, gets an F. An F F. The Haunting can just go someplace else. Dude, you even know this movie is awful when the poster is terrible. Just The Haunting is awful. Never see this movie. If you see this movie in the DVD or Blu-ray aisle, just ignore it. Just walk away, go watch something else, because this movie is horrible. So yeah. So what do you guys think of The Haunting? Leave in the comment section below. I'm wwefan0599, and we'll see you all later. Peace.
Thank you so much, WWE Fan, for reviewing The Haunting. The Haunting. Oh my god, The Haunting is so awful. The fact that this is even called a horror movie is just so funny. Like, really? This is a horror movie? This is a horror movie? I actually do, believe it or not, have a few positives with this movie. The first positive I have with The Haunting is actually Liam Neeson. I feel like if Liam Neeson wasn't in this movie would be more unbearable to sit through. I also did think Owen Wilson, who has yet another stupid character, I actually still thought for the stupid script that he had, including the stupid dialogue he says, he actually did a very good job with his part. Him and Liam Neeson are definitely the best actors, unlike the other ones, which I will get to later on. The next positive is that for the most part, I did like how this movie was shot. I thought it had good cinematography to it, but sometimes the cinematography, it does have some poor lighting to it. And then I did think there were like maybe 3 or 4 moments where I actually laughed at this movie because of how stupid it is. It's supposed to be serious and scary, yet those 3 or 4 moments to me were so unintentionally funny. So yes, I'll give this movie credit for actually making me laugh a few times, even though I don't think it was supposed to make you laugh. Yeah. Okay, but the negatives with this movie is that, yes, this is one fucking stupid movie. The writers had to be like really high when they were writing this movie because the movie doesn't go anywhere. The storyline is just god awful. Oh, and the visual effects are utterly atrocious. It's some of the worst visual effects I've honestly seen in a movie in my life. The visual effects are so bad and so unbearable to look at that they actually look like visuals you would normally see on the Sci-Fi Channel or even in a direct-to-DVD movie. It's just embarrassing to see the visuals this way, considering how many movies actually have very great visuals. I wouldn't even call them visuals, to be honest. It felt like someone was taking a huge dump in the toilet. They saw the dump that they took in the toilet and say, yep, let's go ahead and use that. So then they go ahead and just decide to use the shit, literally shit, from the fucking toilet, and they just stamped it up together to make the visuals for this movie. And not to mention the atrocious dialogue that was actually in The Haunting. You can't believe what the characters are actually spewing out of their mouths. Liam Neeson, although yes, good job, he does say some things you're just like, what the fuck? And then there's Owen Wilson. Everyone has atrocious dialogue. As for the acting, while Liam Neeson and Owen Wilson were good, Lili Taylor, she was horrible. And the same goes to Catherine Zeta-Jones. These two were so piss poor in their acting. Their reactions are not believable. It just feels so fake, and you just really don't care what happens to them. And then you do have the obvious, Catherine Zeta-Jones is a lesbian. Just by the way, Catherine Zeta-Jones acts towards Lili Taylor throughout the whole movie. It is so completely obvious. And the things that happen in the haunted house, it's ridiculous. It's so freaking stupid because you have horrible visuals that don't make the creatures in the haunted house convincing, and the movie leads up to a fucking stupid climax. I don't want to even go into details because the more I think about the climax of this movie, the more I'm really pissed off. But how it all went down, oh my god. And the movie as a whole just did not make sense. The whole insomnia experiment, yeah, that never went anywhere. So what was the point of all these characters even going to the haunted house in the first place? And the fact that for most of the movie, the characters didn't even believe Lili Taylor for some of the shit she would see in the haunted house. It was horribly executed. The direction was really piss poor here too. Even the editing gets really choppy and so messy. And the movie does get boring as fuck. This movie is called The Haunting. It should have been called The Sleeping, because this movie a few times almost put me to sleep, because you're not invested into the storyline, you're not even invested to the characters, and if you do like Liam Neeson and Owen Wilson, it's just because you like them, but you don't really like their characters either. So I'm going to give The Haunting 1 out of 4 stars. So you guys, in the comments down below, let me know, what did you think of The Haunting? And also, I would love to thank my guest star, wwefan0599, who gave us an awesome rant on this movie. He really tore this movie apart, and I want to just thank him for bringing his inner anger to review The Haunting. He's a very cool dude, he does movie reviews, and he even now has a TV recap channel. So if you guys haven't checked out both his main channel and his TV recap channel, I'll leave a link in the description below. This is 22 Tiger Dude here, and don't forget that I will always have Tiger Power!